Seeing as it's the international break at the moment and there isn't much really to talk about Wolves related, I thought we'd move away from Wolves really, you could say, in a certain way. And we're going to be talking about the loan players that Wolves still own but are out on loan, and the ones that are actually doing surprisingly well, and ones that I could genuinely see in and around the first team next season, in and around pre-season, all that stuff. Obviously, I'm not going to get through every single one. I've picked 5, I believe. I have, looking at my notes, I've picked 5 of I picked the main ones that you'll all know about, and I've also tried to pick 1 or 2 that may be a bit out there and you don't really know what they're about and what they're doing out on loan at the moment. So let's get straight into it. So the first one we're going to talk about, and the biggest one, is Morgan Gibbs-White. Obviously out on loan at Sheffield United for the whole of this season. Got 9 goals, 7 assists in all competitions. I think they're all in the Championship anyway, both the goals and the assists, which is unreal. And he seems to either score or assist anytime I watch Sheffield United play. And genuinely, like, obviously I haven't watched every single game that he's been involved in, obviously not, but I always try and check in on Sheffield United now, because I'm going to be a bit biased to this one. I'm going to be very biased because Gibbs-White is like one of my favourite players, and he's just so, he's one of the players I love. He's so energetic, he gets around the pitch a lot, he's creative, he scores goals, he just wants it, he just wants to play football, and you can see when he plays, and when he's playing well, he loves it. And that's exactly what he's like at Sheffield United this season. I'm really glad that we didn't recall him in January, because he was just having such a good time, and he needed that full season out on loan. He needed it, not just 6 months here and there like he did with Swansea. He came back, Nuno never played him, and I just felt sorry for him a bit, because if he stayed the full season at Swansea, he could be a regular in our first team this season. Like, we have no idea what could have happened. Yeah, I'm glad that, he's out there and he's doing well. And, I've even seen, Albion fans saying that he's the best player in the Championship and he's their favourite player to watch. So I think that says everything really about it. I think he's just been so good, and he's been consistent as well, and he just kept himself to himself. He just kept under the radar, just playing his football, loving life. He scored yesterday for England in the under-21s. He's just loving his stuff at the moment. And the only concern I have is I hope that Sheffield United don't get promoted, because I have a feeling that if they did get promoted, that it's going to be a bit hard. It's going to be a bit difficult to keep him after that. But hopefully next season, Bruno Lage can offer him first-team football and one of the first names on the team sheet, because he's a player that we really need, and he's a player that we really want. That attacking midfielder who's very creative, can score goals as well, can actually get in the box as well. Like, a lot of our players just don't want to get in the box. So yeah, I really hope we can keep Morgan, but we'll have to see. And he's the main and the biggest one, so I thought we'd get him out of the way first and move on to some of the others. Next up is Ryan Giles, who is on loan at Blackburn at the moment, but for the first half of the season was on loan at Cardiff. Now, as I said about Morgan, that I said he's probably the best player in the Championship this season, and he's been so good, and probably the outstanding player out of our loans by far, I'd say. But I have a feeling that Ryan Giles is probably the one more likely to actually get in the first team and get first team football next season. Now, that probably sounds a bit strange and a bit weird, but you've seen how highly Bruno Lage has praised Giles and how well he's been doing. And that first 6 months at Cardiff, like, he's got 10 assists all season this season, and 9 of those came in that first 6 months at Cardiff. And I don't know, he just had this weird purple patch. And I know that Cardiff, they have Aidan Flint, they have Morrison, they had Kiefer Moore for a bit as well. They have a lot of players like that who are just very tall and love aerial balls in. So, maybe that had something to do with it, I don't know. And he's only got 1 so far at Blackburn, and he's been in and out of the team at Blackburn this season. But I guess you could say Blackburn are challenging for promotion, while Cardiff are pretty much mid-table, I believe, in and around mid-table. So you could say the competition's a lot different at each club. But again, I haven't really watched too much of Giles, but I've seen some of his assists from little clips here and there, and his dead ball like situations are a joke. It reminds me of Barry Douglas we had, the left back, left footed, just loved whipping balls and loved crosses, and he seems to have an unbelievable cross on him. And or if we have someone like Raul or Fabio as that striker, or someone a bit taller, yeah, if we have someone like Giles whipping them balls into them, like we could score so many more goals like that. Like, I think that's something that's been very poor from us as well. Is our crossing is not that good. Like, we cross the ball a lot, which is very inconsistent. Like, we don't really know what we're doing with our crosses. And if we had someone like Giles delivering them balls in, and the crosses and the corners as well, which is something we haven't been very good at either. Some of our corners have not been good, and putting Giles on these corners could be a real game changer. We could score a lot more goals with him there. Yeah, I think, like I said, I think Giles is someone that I could really see with Marcel going as well, or linked to be going. I could really see someone like Giles coming in and having a real impact next season, playing a lot of games. And if we do get European football as well, you know, we're going to need that bigger squad, and I feel like Giles could be that person. Now, the third big loan, you could say, that Wolves have made is Dion Sanderson, obviously on loan at Birmingham, first half of the season, and QPR, the second half of the season. Sanderson is one of the ones where I feel really bad for. Also Giles as well, where they've had to swap clubs and it's been a bit more difficult for them in the second half of the season at the new club. And I think Sanderson especially, it's been a lot more difficult for him. And obviously at Blues, again, I don't think I really watched the game that he played at Blues, but I've heard a lot of Birmingham fans saying that he's one of the best centre-backs I've seen at Blues for a long time. And, you know, I don't really think at the first half of the season they was doing well and in and around the playoffs, but now they've slowly just dropped off, and I'm pretty sure they're pretty much mediocre mid-table now. At the start of the season, Sanderson was a big part of that, and he was doing really well, just very assured, composed defender, very tall as well, very commanding as well. He's got, like, for the under-23s, he was a captain, very vocal and stuff, which I think helped a lot as well. And moved to QPR in the second half of the season, and again, like with the Giles situation, went from pretty much a mid-table club fighting for nothing really to QPR, where I'm pretty sure QPR are around 3rd, 4th, 5th in the league or something. You know, very outside chance of getting the automatic places, and completely different targets and achievements for each club. And, you know, maybe that's been a little bit difficult for him. He's already got sent off for a silly headbutt, and has been a bit inconsistent and hasn't been able to get into the squad regularly enough, which again you can't really blame them for, because if you're 4th in the league or whatever, then you're not really going to change your defence too much around. So it's been difficult, and that's been one of the most frustrating things, because it's not Sanderson or Giles' fault for this situation. We had to call them back, or Bruno Lage or Wolves had to call them back because of injuries. Then they just get loaned out again to another club, which, yeah, you could say they're better clubs and clubs that are fighting for something and are more competitive, but not really getting the game time that they need and deserve, really. So it's a real difficult one. But yeah, they are the three main Wolves players out on loan, the 3 biggest ones. And to be fair, it's really nice to see that the 3 players out there on loan at clubs who are really fighting for promotion, fighting for Premier League football, and it's really nice to see. But now we've done the main 3. Now we've got 2 more to discuss. 2 more that you may not have, well, you probably would have heard of, but you may not know what they're doing out on loan, and we're going to talk about them right now. Now, the first one is Conor Ronan, currently out on loan at St Mirren in the Scottish Premiership. Got 8 goals, 5 assists this season, and I mean, just go on YouTube or go on St Mirren's page or whatever and go and look at some of his goals. They are unbelievable. Like, some of the goals he scored. Like, I genuinely, probably some of them was a tap-in, some of them 8 goals, but the ones I've seen from clips are unbelievable. The strikes, like, at least 25, 30 yards out. Every single goal. I think he scored one against Rangers, a really nice goal. I honestly can't remember the goals, but he's been doing really well. Really, he's had a few injury issues here and there. He's been out for a few months here and there. Hasn't stagnated his career really at St Mirren, but it's kind of slowed it down. But again, he's been doing really well for them. Plays as a number 10 or number 8 really. And also, this international break has been called up to the Ireland national team, which is really big. It's a really big achievement for him, and hopefully gets his debut, gets some of that experience as well, playing with, could say, some better players for Ireland as well. And he's a player which, again, the level between like St Mirren and the Championship is probably it's probably a very decent sized gap between the two. And you know, he's had a few struggles. I remember when he was at Grasshoppers, he actually done quite well. He went out somewhere else on loan abroad, I believe, and I think it was. I remember at Blackpool he done fairly well, and he's had a lot of loans, Conor Ronan, and he's one of them players which I've always thought did have a future at Wolves, but he is 23, 24 now, so it's kind of weird to see where he's going to fit in. And again, he's a number 10 like Gibbs-White, and again, we do need number 10s. We don't really have one number 10, I would say, really. So Ronan's an interesting one. He's a really interesting one, because you could say that this is his final chance to get in and around the Wolves squads, where, I mean, you could say he has deserved it, and he's been doing really well this season. And I mean, it's hard. It's going to be really hard to see what to do with Ronan, because he's at that weird age now where you can't just keep loaning him out. He would want first team football somewhere, and I probably would say he was in and around that lower Championship level. But if he can make it to Premier League / European football where Wolves are at the moment, it's really hard to see. I mean, we're just gonna have to see what happens with Ronan. But I thought that was a really interesting one, and he's been with us for a while, and he's always been talked about whether he can break in there and this wonder kid for Wolves and that. So Ronan's going to be a really interesting one. Finally, we're going to move on to the last loan player. Now, yeah, the last loan player is Theo Bruno. Was on loan at Sheffield Wednesday for the first half of the season, then moved to MK Dons for the second half of the season. I think this loan switch was actually a good one, because apparently Wolves recalled him from Sheffield Wednesday because Sheffield Wednesday were playing him out of position. I think that's playing him as like a wing back or something, where he's pretty much a winger or a striker. That's where I've seen him play for the under-23s, and I think Canada as well. To be fair, I've even saw TikToks on TikTok. Obviously, I've saw videos on there where the Sheffield Wednesday fans are really praising him and saying how much they miss him, and he must have, even though he's playing out of position, he must have been playing really well. And I mean, I'll be honest, I don't watch Sheffield Wednesday or MK Dons games pretty much ever, so I don't really know what he's been about or how well he's really been doing out there. He's got 3 goals, 4 assists for both clubs at the moment. Like I said, he's been playing as a wing back from Sheffield Wednesday days, so it's kind of hard to judge his goals and assists really. And again, he's already made his Canadian debut, I believe, for the senior team, which is a big achievement. I think he's only 19, I believe. And again, a player which I watched quite a lot in the under-23s and a lot of under-23 games, and he's a real good player. I remember he made his debut last season for Wolves, coming off the bench for like 5-10 minutes or something. It wasn't major, but he made his debut nonetheless in the Premier League, and I think he's actually a real good player. Again, I think he can play anywhere along that front three. Plays as a striker, as a winger. I think he's quite tall as well. Hopefully, he can have a good push with MK Dons. Again, I believe they're around the top of League One at the moment as well. So hopefully, he can get some real good game time, a real good push, and hopefully, maybe a loan to a good Championship side next season, and then maybe the Premier League with Wolves. We'll have to see. But again, Theo Bruno is a very exciting player to look out for. But yeah, that is pretty much the end of this loan watch video, whatever it's going to be called, I don't know. But yeah, like I said, international break, nothing really going on. If you enjoyed this, make sure to like, subscribe to this channel as always. Going to be try and be a little bit more consistent. But if you've got any video ideas for me to do, anything Football Wolves related, then let me know in the comments or on Twitter, Instagram. They'll be down below as always. Let me know, because I'm always up to hearing new video ideas, because I always run out and I always try and write stuff down and be a bit more creative. But if you've got any, let me know as always. Hopefully you're all staying well and safe, and yeah, we'll see you in the next one. She calls me day and night. I'm sorry girl, you just don't